when we talk about onboarding, are you referring to the moment that someone says, I want to look for a new ERP solution or financial accounting or manufacturing system? Is that where that starts? Or is it once you get to the decision that I want to investigate Business Central?
That's a great question, Ken. So when we started doing some, like here in recent times, let's say within the last 2-3 years, we pulled up onboarding as a topic, as an investment area again, recognizing, by the way, that back in the Madeira days, it didn't work out. You couldn't have a 5 minutes to sign up or 5 seconds to wow, or it's the other way around. Like you just couldn't do that with the product back then. Like the product wasn't right for that, and the times weren't right for that. So we're thinking about that now again and say, there are some customers who can and will onboard by themselves, and I'll just come back to that just to answer your question. So it started very much with being focused on getting the customer live to a productive state. So once they have acquired the license, what does it take for them to go live? But it expanded quickly because we figured out, how do we even attract customers in the first place? What's our marketing message? What do people see on the Microsoft website? How can we help our partners get customers onboarded quickly? And I think what we've realized is, to be honest, and I heard the previous episodes where you went through my LinkedIn post where I said, what if you could onboard on your own? What if you could automate all this? Which obviously, when I write it like that, it sounds like this goes for everyone. But obviously, I want to really emphasize that when we talk about onboarding, we very much recognize that on the far extreme, let's say you have a come in right from the street, swipe your credit card kind of person, like, very small company. They will say, hey, I'm a carpenter. I'm just like the guy next door. Surely you have a template for someone like me. I can just teach myself to use the system and set it up, and let's default as much data as possible. I can use whatever chart of accounts you want to give me. Where we actually know from evidence, like these customers exist, like self-service on the rise. On the other extreme, you have, of course, from the companies we've been talking about, where many customizations. You can't. There's no way this complex business can get up and running without having a partner with domain knowledge and what have you beside them. And then there's everything in between. Now, our onboarding focus tried to attack the former, first and foremost. So, but we also want to say, whatever we build for onboarding, like the checklist system and the welcome banner, let's build it in a way where also the bit more complex customers that have a partner by the side can make use of that. But we don't see, and that's also, if you take the checklist, for example, like if you start a trial from Microsoft website and you see the standard checklist in my company, like the new blank company, it's an example checklist. Like it's not intended to make you go from 0 to live without a partner, like, because there's no way you can do that. Unless, of course, you have a very savvy, business IT oriented person in your company that really understands how to go and find documentation and do stuff. But we wanted to focus on, let's give partners some tools so that those partners who can template stuff from their own website, maybe, and configuration packages, and have 9 out of 10 customers for this partner would be the same type. They would have the same setup of data. Let's give them some tools to get ramped up and deliver more customers, because ultimately what we want to tackle with onboarding is try to solve for, or take the pressure off the need for resources in the channel. That's basically why we want to do it. We want the customer to become a subscribing customer today rather than in a month from now, because in a cloud economy, that month is lost. You can never get it back. And the same goes for our partners. So whatever we can do to help partners serve more customers, and provokingly, I've been talking about it in a way where, what if you could empty the heads of your consultants and put it into some IP, into some apps that, your assisted setups or your checklist could ask some questions that a consultant would normally ask. Say, hey, do you want to use, and maybe you don't want to ask, hey, do you want to use costing method FIFO or LIFO, because that's too complex for any, let's say, digital assistant right now, unless we bring in ChatGPT in. But maybe it's fair to ask, hey, do you do any projects? If not, let's leave out that part of the chart of accounts, because let's not, create those accounts in your chart of accounts. So there are some things I think can be digitalized in a sort of digital consultant kind of way. And then there are things that just cannot, because it's just too complex. But only partners will know. And I realize when I see my LinkedIn post, I could have made it sound like, this can go for every type of customer, but obviously not. But I think the key point is, I do think there's an opportunity for partners to maybe rethink how they deliver their value digitally versus in person, and say in person, like in quotes, like over a Teams call or whatever, but like the billable hour. Yeah. And maybe figure out if that bar could be set differently, so the billable hour is spent on things where the consultant is absolutely indisposable. Like you just have to have a consultant with that domain knowledge about the food industry or whatever. That's the kind of thinking we'd like to, spawn with partners. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. It's challenging to us. We view it like as a challenge. If you go back, right, I think that, and I don't know if this is something we made up at Solution Systems or if this was the official thing, but back when it was, Navision, it was the slogan was tailored for the way you do business, right? And that mindset that it's designed to be molded to fit what you do, because you're unique and you have these unique things. And that's how we've kind of operated. I joke with people internally. I say, our Solution Systems, our motto is we never do the same thing twice. Because every customer that we engage with has this unique set of personalities and size and business processes and expectations of who we are as a Microsoft partner, what services we deliver to them. So there's all these variables that, and now it's like, how can we take our best practices, because those do exist, that the way that we do things and how we approach a project and an implementation and how we set up certain fields in Business Central, how can we take that and craft it into an automation? And I think this onboarding tool sounds like it's that avenue for us to begin to do that, right? When we're setting up and deploying it. I think in your office, in the office hours, Michael, we talked, mentioned like a link where we can kind of pre-install some apps and walk through some assisted setup tools to deploy some data sets within there.
I think the office hours really cleared up a lot of the questions that I had. Like Søren said, I was under the impression that the automation was supposed to be for every single prospect that's going to turn into a customer. But after watching the office hours, I know that's not true. I know that Microsoft has done the research, and the self-serve customers on the rise. So I think the automation is really great for the self-serve customer, and I think it can be a really good tool to help bring down some of the consulting hours for larger corporations. Personally, I don't think it's going to ever be able to fully automate a customized onboarding for a really large customer. But what I did like, and what Ken was alluding to, was that, it looked like we can start a trial on our website, if we use Power Apps, Visual Studio Code, whatever it may be, and then have that person onboarded, or they start a trial, and then we can pre-install some apps, it looks like, that we built, and then for the trial, that person can actually use the trial with our preloaded apps. Is that correct, Søren?
Yes, it is. Exactly. And what's key there, I think, is because now your app is installed, you don't have a formal relationship with the customer yet, like through CSP and what have you, but your app is installed, which means that you're able to, and because you also profile the prospect on your website, you have the contact information. So we're able also to provide some contact, like some touch points inside, like through the checklist or whatever, like you measure on, I wonder if they completed checklist task number 3. And if they haven't done that for 4 days, maybe that's your cue to go contact the customer and say, hey, we can see you're stuck at, bullet 3, importing data or whatever that is. Like, can we help you? Because then you provide laser focused value for that specific customer. So the multiple reasons why this is important is, like, you can increase your funnel. You can qualify your funnel better because by asking them whatever questions on your website and reacting to that inside BC, showing them relevant content to what they have chosen on your website, like coming back to the food industry example or whatever, like you can speak their language and nurture them in a better way. So hopefully their first meeting with the product would not be the standard Microsoft trial, but be your flavored trial, so to speak. Yeah. Which is our, like, that's our nemesis, right? We, like, if you look at Business Central, as we just talked about, we try to be everything or a lot for the maybe not single, but 5-10 user company and the 500 user company. Like, how can we speak the language of whatever prospect comes through the door, not even knowing if that prospect is, by the way, the CFO or someone else in the company? Like, what do we show them? What terminology do we use? Do we know if that person is interested in seeing, I want to see how sales forecasting looks in BC. I want to see how, how do production orders, like that's a very different thing.
It's a daunting task.
Yeah, well, and the scope, and like you said, the scope of Business Central is crazy, right? I mean, it's core financials, warehouse management, manufacturing, job, service management. I mean, right? How do you, to know what someone's going to be interested in? We get requests for prospects to say, oh, can you set us up with a free trial? And we will, but we will do everything we can. We would rather spend, if we have to, an extra hour or 2 on a Teams meeting walking them through some stuff, because it's just, we know that it gets frustrating because they've never been trained, right? They don't understand how certain fields work, and it looks like I can't even do this. Well, no, it's over here. It's called something. It's called something a little bit different here. So it leads to frustration, but I think through this onboarding, some of these tools that exist, it looks like we can have more control over what that trial environment looks like, some of the data that's in there even, and some of the apps, so that it's a much more complete tool and reflects what they might see once they kind of actually get in there.
Even what Role Center's coming soon, that pops up when they log in.
Right.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And speaking about that hour that you would rather spend, which I totally get. I mean, that's, you want to make sure that feature that's important does not go unnoticed. And because they came from QuickBooks, they're looking for feature X or whatever. Like, I'm just in QuickBooks, that maybe not your segment, but in theory, it's that kind of thinking. So what we're hoping is now that we can give partners the control to spin up customer-centric trials in a way that speaks to that individual prospect based on what they have said it is important to them. With a bit more, with so you can free up your time for the bit more daunting, challenging prospects and also customers.
Yeah.
So,
No, I think it's a, go ahead, Michael. You have a question?
I was going to say, I'm a marketing guy, so I have to ask this question. When the prospect were to come on our site and answer our questions, for their personalized trial or whatnot, we're obviously going to get their information. But is Microsoft also going to get this information and then use it in their marketing touch points, so to speak?
No, we actually made a decision because, there's a nuance, but let me just explain something first. So we need to make sure that if someone has started a trial off of your website and being profiled and said, hey, I'm interested in seeing this and this, and you spin up a trial, you own that trial. Like you own it in terms of what do I show to the customer. In the standard trial today, we have some notifications popping up. I think after, I can't remember, day 3 or something like that. Hey, are you looking to get in contact with some partners or something like that? We need to make sure that we don't confuse anyone by saying, hey, you just selected a trial from a partner website. It's actually a Microsoft trial still, but it has a partner IP on it. We can't confuse you by throwing a message on day 3 saying, hey, do we want to find a partner? Like that kind of thing. And we may still have some tweaking to do there, to be honest, to make sure that it's either or.
It doesn't happen.
That being said, we do get telemetry on how many prospects start a Microsoft trial with from the sign up context that is yours, for example. We do get that information to see also, are there partners out there who have succeeded in creating great trial experiences where they convert customers who would perform great in that sense. And the reason I say that is also that this capability we're talking about now, which we call the sign-up context, preloading your app for a trial, can obviously also be used for any other app source app, but it's not intended to be used for any other add a field app. Like, it's not a test drive. That's not the intention, but it could be used as such. The intention is to use it to provide a trial and onboarding experience to convert a prospect to a paying Business Central customer. That's the intention, but we'll have to monitor and see how is it being used.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, that clears it up for me.